let's start by taking a look at finding some newspapers. Uh, One of the biggest sources for newspaper stories is AP, Associated Press, and you can access most of their stories directly from their website. And let's say that we were going to focus on the new space launch of American astronauts by SpaceX. So here's the story. There are some images that are listed here, some video footage. Okay, the full text of this story is here, and it's free for you to read. They have some related topics along the side, such as Elon Musk, or more information or more stories on SpaceX. And a lot of these Associated Press stories are actually picked up by other news outlets and just recycled and repackaged in a slightly different way. The other thing you can do is look at an aggregator, something that pulls all of news stories together in one spot, and that's something like Google News. So here's the top stories. You can set your own search that you're interested in, and certain stories will come up for you. But let's say that we wanted to focus on SpaceX again. It's probably under science. Okay, so here's a link for outer space. Let's click it and see what happens. Okay, and then there's anything related to outer space. Let's go back to the latest because I didn't see what I wanted. Okay, and here's the story about the space launch. So this is coming from USA Today News, and we'll have to see how much they're going to allow us to read for free. Okay, it looks like they've got some paid advertisements, so it's allowing us to read for free. And I see the full text of the article here. I'm not going to wait for the images to load, but as you can see, there's plenty of images here. Remember, with these images, they come from somebody took them, so there's going to be some copyright related to them. You can't just clip them and take them. So for example, these are Getty images. You'd have to see if you have the right to be able to just use them without any attribution. In our next course, Digital Information Literacy, we will cover image and video attribution and how that works. Okay, so for now, this was an example of using an aggregator, something that takes news from all different sources. So here's one from Reuters. The other one was USA Today, and pulls them all together in one spot for you to look at. Now there are a number of apps that can do the same thing that you can find for your smartphone if you have a smartphone. So I would suggest looking at the app store on whatever phone that you have to see if you can find something for news aggregator, news collector. Those would be the types of words you would use. Okay, so here's a Reuters. Reuters is similar to the Associated Press, so they grab news stories from around the world, and other news agencies will just recycle their stories. The other thing you can do is go directly to a newspaper site. So in this example, we're here at the New York Times, and again, we want to take a look at the stories that we can read. They tell you here how long ago the story was published, but we want to focus with SpaceX. Let's see, opens a new space age, rekindles past glory. Here we go. Now, this is a commercial website. It's a company. So let's see how much of this story we can get for free. Now, sometimes what will happen is if you keep going back to the same site repeatedly, it'll only let you get a certain number of views before it will ask you to pay. It'll say you exceeded your limit. So I think for New York Times, you might be able to read like 10 stories, and then it's going to ask you to get a subscription and pay. In this case here, it's letting me have the story for free. There are certain big major events in global history that that news sites are going to let you have for free. So, for example, with the coronavirus going on right now, it says on the bottom of their pages that any information related to the coronavirus, any stories are free. But that is not going to always be the case. So remember that when you're using and accessing a corporate or company website, which New York Times is a business website, they're in the business to make money. You may be asked to pay. Now, you can avoid that if you belong to a college, a university, or there's a public library near you. They may subscribe to the New York Times. So you will have to check with your local public library, maybe a government or a country library system, or college or university that you may belong to.